top 5 reasons to move to Columbia, Maryland. This is a place that was born and raised and lived up well into adulthood. So I've spent my whole life here, and I can tell you the ins and outs of it more than most people have as a local. So also check out my video on 5 reasons not to move here, so you get a full fleshed out opinion on the pros and cons. So starting off with number 1 is that you have fairly easy access to DC and Baltimore while still feeling like you are separate from them. It's about an hour drive into DC, maybe less if you're going outside of rush hour. Or you can take the metro in, but you drive to a parking spot and then metro in. But it's also a 25 to 30 minute drive from Baltimore. So you're far enough away that you feel like you're not part of that community for sure. But whenever you want to go visit, it's fairly convenient. And that means you get all the access to that without, having to feel like you're part of that. Now, DC is still a bit of a trick. An hour to and back means it's usually going to be kind of a day trip on the weekend with your family. However, you get all the access to all that stuff, the food, the seafood in Baltimore, the restaurants, the harbor, the attractions, the museums, all of DC's beautiful museums, and all the events and networking that happens during that within access. And if you want to work in DC, you have that career opportunity too, which is why a lot of people end up moving here. Number 2 is it's probably one of the best places in the country to raise a kid. There's a reason that this place consistently ends up in the top 5 to 10 rankings for best place to live, or best place to raise a kid, or safest place in the country to live. In fact, last year it was number 6 according to money.com on best place to live. And U.S. News and WalletHub have also ranked it. Now, is there truth to some of that? Yes, for sure. But also, I feel like a lot of these people who rank these things have never actually lived here or visited at all. They just ran a bunch of numbers online. But that being said, I think there is some truth here. I mean, you have diversity. You have a lot of safety. If you look at the numbers, and not someone's opinion on YouTube, but numbers, it is one of the safest places to go. And it's just a fantastic place to raise kids. It has one of the top school systems in the country. So it has a lot going for it. Yeah, you'll find someone on YouTube or social media complaining about how it's dangerous, but that's really rare. Any country or city, you're going to have a wide range of opinions. For the most part, it is rather safe. So don't let some anecdotal opinion sway you from the data. So it's a great place. I went through the education system. Now, is it perfect? Is it as flawless as one might think? No, it's probably not as good as some private school, but it's pretty darn solid. We have some really solid teachers. The curriculum is really tough, and there's actually a lot of competition. Because there's a lot of wealthy people living in the more wealthier neighborhoods flow through these systems. So a lot of competition for straight A's, valedictorian, but at the same time, we also have a lot of poor people living here too. So you get quite the range of people who are not trying in school to all these like Caucasian and Asian people really trying to make it and get straight A's while taking advanced placement classes. So you get that whole range, and depending on your zoning and where you live, you can be funneled into different schools. I would say the school systems are pretty solid across the board. I went to kind of the middle schools with all the preppy, straight A students, and there's a lot of competition there. Then due to random zoning, I got placed into more of like an older school, but this school system was still solid. Yeah, there's still some bad teachers, but that's everywhere. There's a lot of good teachers as well. So I felt it was pretty solid. I wouldn't write home to mom about how amazing the school was, but according to the awards and the stats online, apparently this is one of the best in the country. So that brings me to the next reason why this is a good place to live. You basically have every chain store across the world here. from Best Buy to JCPenney to Lululemon to Yoga Works. So it's really kind of a lifestyle where people live in these neighborhoods, these cul-de-sacs, then they drive to a place to do something, whether it's to shop for groceries, go to Costco, go to Lululemon, go to Yoga Works, and then go back home. And so you really don't have to worry about safety or anything that much. If you go to these neighborhoods or these shopping centers, they're beautiful, they're clean, some are new, and it's growing because they're always building more stuff, more apartment complexes because everyone's moving here. It's the second most populous place to live in Maryland besides Baltimore. But at the same time, it's that type of life. That's one reason I moved out of it because it was just kind of too cookie cutter for me. It's not like a New York City, but some people like that, So your children kind of play with the neighbors next door, and then you go to Yoga Works, and then you go to Costco, and then you go back home, or you go to a local park. So it's a lot of this drive in your car type of life. And then the last reason to move here is, it's everything's clean, polished. If there's Merriweather Post Pavilion, so there's a lot of major artists that flow through here. So if you like music, you can have that. But if you want that kind of clean, simple suburb life, you can have that without too much stuff going on. There really isn't that much stuff going on within this community. So it's kind of your separate thing. There's a couple award-winning sushi and Indian restaurants in this area. Sushi Sono, Royal Taj. So there's stuff like that where it's just like top of the line sushi, and you don't have too much stuff going on or events or activities. And so that's one reason I left here, because it's definitely more of a parents, retired people, or high school kids type of vibe. But if that's the life for you and you want this nice, clean, polished shopping mall and chain stores type of life, and you want the McMansions or the nice neighborhoods, this is the place for you. And at the same time, even if you're not rich, there's definitely poor people living here as well, more affordable neighborhoods. And so it kind of runs a gamut, and it has that diversity of people, but also cultures and ethnicity. So it really kind of has it all in that sense. So if that's for you, check out Columbia, Maryland, and then also check out my video on 5 reasons not to live here, because I do add some spicy stuff that may or may not be for you, depending on what you value.